From the John DeVito Broadcast Center, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another broadcast of Armchair Experts with Jim Leon and Rich Massaro on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network and Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norwich on Wednesday, December the 14th, the year of our Lord, 2016. And now, here they are, still alive, still breathing on their own, but the only thing is they're all waiting for Santa Claus. And here they are, Jim and Rich.
Our elfin charm.
Yeah.
Had to find Rich's favorite Christmas song.
Yep.
Santa Claus goes straight
To the ghetto.
Yeah, James Brown.
Hardest working man in showbiz.
Better believe it. He's even working at Christmas Day. I love that song. I'll never forget the first time I heard it on the old WVON.
Oh, man. Yeah. Who was playing it that night?
It was probably Herb
Or
Kent,
Herb
the
Kent.
Cool Gent, or somebody like that.
Bless. May he rest in peace.
May he. You know what? I believe didn't in his obit. Did you read his obit? I think he actually worked the day that he died.
He did. He worked that day.
Of course, all of us are racists, but we still like Herb Kent and James Brown, despite our racial proclivities. So
I mean, it was kind of funny. Somebody I worked with about 16 years ago at the Chicago Area Council of the Boy Scouts, Janine, I said that she posted, I see a posting on Facebook. Oh, man, Herb's gone. Herb's gone. I can't believe that. And some of her friends were commenting on it. And I said, hey, back in the days, if we didn't like what was on WLS, if we didn't like what was on WCFL, we'd all go, let's punch up 1390 and see what Herb's playing.
I'll tell you now, this name will mean nothing to anybody probably that's listening, but Scott Wazales, who was a friend and classmate of ours, was really into WVON. And I don't know if it was Herb Kent or one of the other jocks. It might have been Kent. Yeah, pretty sure that it was Kent. Had a group of fictitious people that he had on his show every night called the Electric Crazy People. And Wazales used to, just go crazy. Hey, man, I got to listen tonight to Electric Crazy People. But I think, was Herb Kent the guy that started his show? Every show was started with the song "A Nickel and a Nail."
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so. The one that when I saw this, when Herb passed away, I started to run back into some names, Purvis Band, the All Night Blues Man.
Blues Man.
But the one, and there's very little audio out there of him, Big Bill Hill.
Big Bill Hill, when we were kids, teenagers, and, you'd have the white rock and roll shows, basically they're white. But and Soul Train came on. Yeah. But Big Bill Hill had a show called Red Hot and Blues.
Red Hot and Blues.
And Big Bill was, he was really on the ground floor of the music scene. Yeah. Blues and soul and whatnot.
Bill managed some groups. He was a promoter. His radio show was Brokered Time, where he sold all the commercials.
Okay.
He wrote all the copy.
Okay.
And there's an air check out there, and I listened to it briefly. I'd have to go back and look for it, and I'm not going to right now. But Bill had, Bill reading his commercials, promoting a concert that he had booked for that weekend. He did get a couple of things wrong. I think he had Bobby Rush on there and Otis Rush, and he said they were brothers.
Oh, okay.
which wasn't quite right. Oh, all of a sudden my earphone popped, and I can hear out of both sides of it now.
No,
But the thing that I always remember about Big Bill Hill, every record was introduced the same way.
Go ahead. I know what you're going to say. Go ahead.
Here's James Brown doing that crazy thing of his. Santa Claus goes straight to the ghetto. James Brown doing it for you.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
And when the record would be over, that was James Brown doing that crazy thing he is.
Well, I mean, Jim, the great groups that you'd hear on VON, and of course, and a lot of those were groups that crossed over to top 40.
Sure.
But when you mentioned Otis Rush, I remember one Thanksgiving after all the family stuff was done, I went down to Blues on Halstead to see Otis Clay.
Mm-hmm.
And we sat right next to the bandstand because I don't know, for a frame of reference, if anybody had been in the old Snuggery before it expanded, so that was a sort of a long, narrow room.
Sure.
And Blues on Halstead was a similar type of room.
Yeah.
So we're sitting right next to the band, and when I say bandstand, they were raised about maybe a foot off the floor, and I'm thinking we're going to get blasted out by these guys. I mean, we're sitting right next to them. But Otis Clay, and I think he was backed up by 5 or 6 pieces. I mean, so professional. And you know what? Loud enough to, obviously, where we were at, it was going to be loud enough anyway. But, due to the fact that he was a professional, nobody got blasted out. You could hear the music. It was enjoyable. Just a great evening. So
Yeah. I don't know how good the audio is on this one, but let me see.
what are you looking for?
I got another. Oh, gosh. Of course, I got to get a commercial on it first.
A commercial.
Of course.
Ah, man. Oh, what is that, though, Jim?
This guy is named Joseph Spence. He's from the Bahamas, and he's passed away, but a very renowned singer, folk singer.
Oh, okay.
And the first time I heard this, all I could think of was the Swedish Chef on the Muppet Show.
Yeah, I mean, it's what was the song that he was singing?
It was Santa Claus is coming to town.
I don't know. I think Joseph sounded. I think he might have been under the influence. When he sang that song.
I think there was always something in there, because any pictures I've ever seen of him. I'm going to move up to another one here, and all I'd see every time I'd see Joseph Spence or hear Joseph Spence, I kept thinking of. I would think of Clark Terry, who was a great jazz trumpeter, and one thing he was always known for was doing a song called Mumbles.
Yeah,
And
that's Mumbles.
that's Mumbles.
Yeah.
He did this particular version. That particular version he did was on Ramsey Lewis's TV show, Legends of Jazz, and he finished at the end. And when he got to the end of it, he says, "And if I don't stop pretty soon, I'll probably get elected."
Did you hear? I was in the car Saturday. It was last Wednesday night, and there is a movement on. I guess it's part of the feminist movement to either ban or change the words to the song "Baby, It's Cold Outside."
Did
you hear that?
I heard that too, and I just shook my head.
Yeah.
John is in.
John is look.
John has a
stupefied look on his face.
John is going.
Like, what are you talking about?
John is in there going. The world is ending as we
couldn't-
know it.
You couldn't figure out what about "Baby, It's Cold Outside" would make the feminist subject.
You know how old that song has been played? Bing Crosby used to made that song famous.
All right,
was
so
Dean
we're talking. You thought it was what?
Dean Martin.
No. I think. Well, I remember Dean Martin doing it. Okay. I wonder how far back that song goes.
Well,
Talk amongst yourselves.
Just
while
to
I
fill you in, John. The objection is that the song implies that the male is not giving the female a way to say no or a way out of spending the night with him. So it implies potential date rape, and maybe offensive to those who hear it. Although none of us have had deciphered that for the last 70 years.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
my gosh.
interesting, huh?
Here's a video of it of Idina Menzel and Michael Bublé. And-
Michael Bublé singing it. Huh?
Yeah, and then there's another interesting one, Zoe Deschanel and Leon Redbone. There's an interesting combination.
Yeah.
The song was written by Frank Lesser in 1944.
1940. So you're
Yeah.
talking 70-some years.
70. You're talking about you're talking a song that's 72 years old.
Why the heck didn't any of us see these potential problems for all these years?
Why didn't
There's
any of-
something wrong with us here?
Many of us act.
My God!
No, I'm
you know,
terrible.
you know,
I can't-
really, it takes those of us who are really enlightened to see the problems with these
Oh,
things.
my gosh.
My goodness!
But yes, take a song that's 72 years old. Speaking of enlightening,
Oh, I want to be enlightened. Go ahead.
part of the new CBA from the Major League Baseball Players Association.
Mm-hmm.
The baseball hazing ritual of dressing up rookies as Wonder Woman, Hooters girls, and Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders is now banned.
Oh, banned.
Yes.
That's right.
No more of that.
And geez, which side of the table did that come from?
I really don't know. You know, Major League Baseball created an anti-hazing and anti-bullying policy that covers the practice. As part of the sport's new labor deal, set to be ratified by both sides Tuesday, the players' union agreed not to contest it.
Hey, did they anybody put a common sense clause in there or anything like that? None of that, huh? Don't want to have
None
any
of
of
that.
that.
None
Don't
of
want to
that.
have any of that invading any of
Yeah,
our
you know,
contractual
now
obligations.
we're really going to miss because there's let's see, somebody, Major League Baseball Vice President Paul Mifsud said the new rules resulted partly in light of social media, which in our view sort of unfortunately publicized a lot of the dressing up of the players. Those kind of things which in our view were insensitive and potentially offensive to a number of groups. There's a lot of pictures of baseball players dressed up as Disney princesses.
Jim, I have to. How many years have you been in the workforce?
I got my first job a couple of weeks after I turned 16, so it's almost 50 years.
So I would say similar situation for myself. Now, in all of that time, you were trying to obviously support yourself for most of that time,
Earn
make
money
a living.
when I was,
Did
you
you
know.
really? Were you really looking around for all of these things to be offended by? I'm just wondering why. I mean, geez, people must have a heck of a lot of time on their hands to just scope all this stuff out and be ready to be offended.
I didn't have enough time to,
That most people don't.
you know,
Yeah.
I sit back and I think about things now, and in some roles where one organization where I was the auditor there, and the way I was people reacted and people treated me, I could have in this day and age, if that would have happened, I probably would have had to seek my safe space.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
I would have had to seek my safe space.
I remember.
In other words, back in those days, I probably just told them, and the horse that rode in on you.
Yeah. I remember one time the first New Year's that we actually because you were on Ottawa, so you weren't included in this. But
Well, yeah,
the
Ozark boys.
the Ozark boys had their first New Year's Eve. We had a sleepover at Larry Ritzert's house. Mm-hmm. And the next morning, I think, even though we all went to Acacia Park Presbyterian, I think somebody had been trying the Divine Savior out. So we went to Mass the next morning at the Divine Savior. I'd never been inside of a Catholic church or at a Mass.
That was a holy day of obligation, New Year's Day.
Now,
New Year's.
as we sat there, and this was totally unfamiliar to me, though, I thought to myself, my God, in retrospect, how offended should I have been? I mean, they weren't doing anything the way I normally did it at the Presbyterian church. Shouldn't I have been offended and made some kind of a stink about it?
I know.
How dare that they go ahead with their normal service and offend me? Terrible.
You didn't let them know first what was going on.
No. Hey, I see you paging through the sports section. I wanted to. Did you see yesterday I didn't really see the article about it, but on the front page of the sports section, the headline was Barkley, basically, I'm paraphrasing, doing a good job, but not the long-term solution.
Probably not.
And I'm thinking to myself, well, here's the thing that if you're the Bears, you have to think about. Here's a guy who would have probably been a top. I'll just make it a wider range than probably it was. Top 10 draft choice had he come out early. Decided to go back to school. Got hurt. Then when he did come out, his value had dropped because of the injury. Was a 4th-round selection. But I'm thinking if I'm the Bears, you really have to evaluate this guy carefully because he may actually be a first-round talent that, just because of circumstances, now is being looked at as something less than that.
He's probably he is probably going to turn out to be your prototypical backup quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
The rap on him, as I'm reading it, and I watched him one game. I didn't watch this weekend. I decided that no, I feel like making a big pot of chili instead.
Oh, okay.
and it was good too.
Oh, that's good. I like chili.
Yeah, it was good too. And actually, I was going to make something else, but I decided that was enough when the chili was done.
Sure.
But the rap on him is his footwork isn't the best. You may be able to teach footwork. Mm-hmm. His arm strength is not the best.
Mm-hmm.
But he can be very serviceable in the situation that he's in.
Well, see, there was a Cam Meredith commented on something that I saw. I think I saw the
How many drops were there? 10?
I think I saw the whole. I saw basically the whole 49ers game, and I saw the first half of the Detroit game.
Mm-hmm.
What I saw, especially in the 49ers game, but no, in both games really, was a guy with a good touch. And I was very happy to see in yesterday's paper, Cam Meredith had the same. He said, this guy has got touch. And I think that you really, when you look at a guy, say, and I'm not comparing Barkley to Brady because there's not a comparison of any type other than their quarterbacks at this point. But when you look at a guy like Brady, it's timing, it's touch. I'm sure Tom Brady's arm strength is very good, but to me, arm strength is do you need it? Do you want it? Of course. But I think it's a little bit overrated because, again, we've talked about this, Jim. You see a guy like a Tom Brady, and a lot of quarterbacks need a guy to be at least a step open. Well, Brady understands that you don't need to be a step open. If you've got your body in between the ball and the defender, you're open with a good throw, and the quarterback seeing you at the proper time, you're open.
Mm-hmm.
Brady does that well. Obviously, he's got touch on the ball. And I think Barkley possesses some of those same qualities. That doesn't say that Barkley is ever going to be a star, but what I would say is,
no, he's going to be.
Don't say that he's not going to be a potential starter. Maybe you've got to get. This is where the people who know what they're doing, that are on the Bears, have to evaluate very carefully, because I think you have a situation where maybe you stumble onto something here.
It's very possible. I would say, if you look at him, there's two things you can say. He's serviceable, and he manages a game well. And what is the quarterback position really turning into more now? A game manager.
Well, it's always a game manager.
More so.
Yeah.
More so.
Well, how?
Control the ball, short passes. Hope you've got receivers that can, that you can move. It was an interesting stat, and I heard it yesterday, and I didn't get an opportunity to go into it in any great depth to look at it further. But they talked about that there's 19 full-time starters in the National Football League now that have a quarterback rating of over 90.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's unusual for this time of year, but I mean over 90. And of course, a lot of it is, yes, it's easy to be really efficient and to pump up your numbers when you're throwing a lot of 6-8 yard passes.
Yeah.
Or throwing a little screen pass behind the line of scrimmage.
Sure.
And your receiver can do something with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's becoming the nature of the game. I don't know. You're not going to see too many guys go for the home run ball every time.
Yeah, but, Jim, I don't think it's any. I mean, think back to our '63 championship, the team, the Bears. Basically, a ball-controlled team. I believe that their two best running backs didn't even play that year because I'm pretty sure Gallimore and Caceres either
played very little,
or
played
almost
very little.
none.
Caceres was pretty much at the end of his career.
So you had Bull and Marconi, and those were good backs, but not so. The ball was controlled with Ditka and Johnny Morris being thrown to by Bill Wade.
Right, and the running backs, I don't think Bull or Marconi ran for more than 450 yards.
Yeah, although was Ronnie Bull Rookie of the Year that year?
He might have been.
Yeah, he
might have been.
He might have been.
He might have been. And that was keep in mind too, that was a team that only averaged 14 points a game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was a team. I mean, the average score of a Bear game that year was 14-10.
I would believe that for sure.
Yeah, that the average score was 14-10. People would look at that today and go, "Oh my God, this is boring."
But Jim, this is the nature of the game. Is it's the offense evolves into the one thing. The defense starts to evolve to stop it. So then the offense has to go do something else. So I think this will be a trend for a while, and then it'll go back again.
It'll go back again. There'll be something. There'll be something. There'll be something the latest and greatest. You think? What do you think of Deshaun Kaiser? Is a possibility. Kid from Notre Dame. Even though I'm looking at him, he's 12-11 in 2 seasons as a starter, but he's kind of the athletic mold. He's kind of that athletic type that seems to be the big quarterback now.
Well, yeah, I would say this. I think it seems to be the quarterback in college, but that doesn't seem to be the quarterback in the pros. Not that the quarterbacks in the pros are not athletic, but you know what? You take Deshaun Kaiser, Watson, Lamar Jackson. I'll be straight up. I'm iffy about all those guys. Not because I'm a racist, but I just don't see that style. No, seriously. That style of QBing has been tried, never been successful. I mean, you had Michael Vick. You had
Michael Vick ran himself into the
and
out of the league. Really ran himself in.
He did very well, but what I'm saying is you're not going to win championships with your QB being almost 1,000-yard rusher.
You're right. I mean,
so you could take that maneuverability part, and it's great to have, but to me it means diddly squat on the pro level.
Right.
It means nothing.
Yeah, the game is very different.
I would like to see maybe a guy like who's the guy that is the QB for Washington? Jake Browning, is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think a guy like that might be professional ready. But I would also say this. I haven't looked at it, but I was thinking about this. You have guys like Aaron Rodgers was a first-round draft pick. Peyton Manning was a first-round draft pick. Very excellent quarterbacks. But then, if you look at the other great quarterbacks that you could name, Johnny Unitas was never drafted.
Yes, he was.
He was drafted by
ninth round
by the Steelers. You have Joe Montana, who was a third or fourth round. You had Tom Brady, who was a 7th-round draft choice, and Bart Starr was like a 17th-round draft choice. So my point would be, it's a roll of the dice on any of these guys.
Oh,
the other thing is, what are you surrounding them with? When if you're a quarterback who's picked, say, in the top 5 drafts, unless there's a trade, you're going to a lousy team, and how is that going to help you? You're brand new at this. You're learning the pro game, and you're surrounded by guys who can't help you that much. So where are you going with this?
Right. I had to laugh, and I saw this item yesterday, and here's a little bit of it. I saw this online yesterday. Lamar Jackson told Don Patrick's radio show about the advice he received from 2012 Heisman winner Johnny Manziel. This is not a person I think should be giving out career advice. But he did say he said he was telling me, have fun in college. You can only stay there a certain amount of time, so have fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
I think Manziel might be telling him, I left too early.
Yeah. Why is he? What is Jackson, a junior?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
They spent time together after Saturday's ceremony in New York. Manziel is out of football in part because he had too much fun.
Yeah, definitely. Too much fun for Johnny.
Did you see? You talk about this time of year when you've got teams that are just, trying to get through to the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody, I had my Twitter feed open on Sunday while I was doing stuff getting my chili ready, and somebody tweeted out that the Browns have just reached the whatever phase of their season. They threw RG3. I can't. And somebody just put the clip on it, and I couldn't see clearly because somebody took it right off their TV. It looked like on the snap, and it was like play was at the goal line. RG3 pitched to somebody. They pitched the ball back to him. Now you got a flea flicker going. And RG3 just let it rip upfield right into triple coverage, and it was intercepted. That's it. Now you're getting down to the whatever, dude.
When you think the Browns, what are they? 0-13 now?
They haven't won a game this year. I don't know if they're 0-13 or 0-14. 0-13.
I guess how could a team get to such a pitiful state? Because you're not. It's not just you say the quarterback is bad or this is bad. Everything's bad.
Yo, this is record breaking.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think back, and I haven't gone back and looked. Was the last team that went 0-16 was the Lions.
Yeah, 0-16 under our former defensive line coach,
Rod Marinelli. And a lot of people blame who was the GM? Matt Millen.
Yeah, Matt Millen.
Matt Millen for having no concept of what he was doing.
Well, you got to have a game plan. There's no doubt. But Jim, I have to ask you this question. I'm glad you brought that the subject of the Browns came up. Because I was thinking, do you think that the Bears, who do you think, whoever you think who do you think's the best coach in pro football? Would you say?
Belichick, probably.
Okay, would the Bears be any better with Belichick as the head coach?
Good question. How many games is he worth it? Would they be a 3-win team or a 6-win team?
My feeling is they wouldn't be very much better, and that's not a diss of Belichick, but I think when here's what I was thinking. I was going to give the Bears coaching staff a good grade on the job they've done this year. I read an article last week. The Bears, if you take each team, their opening day lineup, their starters, the Bears have, let's see, 55% of their opening day starters still on the field, lowest in the league. So the point would be, what I see and where I give our coaching staff really good grades is that team has continued to try to win, continued to try to be competitive. They haven't mailed it home, and I think in a situation like the one that our coaching staff is forced to be in, that is probably as well as you can do. I don't think that there's any magic. You can't say, Well, geez, if they played player A instead of player B, it would be better.
No,
It's not. Just,
you don't
can't
have
say that.
You don't have good personnel.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not necessarily a reflection on the coaching staff. It's a reflection on the personnel that you're dealing with.
Well, and here's the other thing. When you get to a point where I think the Bears actually would have had probably probably around the 500 season had they not had the injuries they had.
I think that's very possible. We're gonna sneak
We
station
got to break
break in.
for our stations.
Let's break something while we're in.
From the John DeVito Broadcast Center, you are listening to Armchair Experts with Jim Leon and Rich Massaro on Wednesday, December the 14th, the year 2014. And this is Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norwich. And now back to Armchair Experts with Jim and Rich.
Okay.
John, they're going to think that we're doing reruns. It's 2016, not 2014.
Well.
John has a flashback occasionally.
I'm very upset right at the moment.
Oh,
What did he say?
he's upset at something. So
Uh-oh.
when we're done,
Yeah.
we'll listen to John.
Okay.
We'll have counseling.
Okay.
Okay. The issue is would they be any better? Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not. Not much better. Not much better.
No, I don't think so either.
I think a couple of things a lot of people have talked about, and I really don't know. I mean, the offensive coordinator, they said very unimaginative.
Well, I see.
But then
I
again-
saw some good things on Sunday. I liked the play calling.
But then again, maybe what we're looking at is taking the play is taking your game plan down to the level of the people that you've got.
Well, yeah.
Have you had some good things this year? Have you had some good things happen this year? Absolutely. I think Leonard Floyd's going to be a hell of a ball player.
Yeah.
I think as he gets his experience, he's going to be a really good ball player.
Mm-hmm.
The kid that's playing center
Yeah.
been pretty doggone good.
Yeah. No.
You've had some good things on the line play. Your defense is better. You've got some atrocious receivers. Just look at the number of drops.
Yeah, but yeah. Thanks, John. You know what you're looking at though. I think improvement as they played a few games, and I think I'm sort of impressed with the group of athletes that Pace is put together. I think there's some. I think they need probably to get the defensive secondary straightened out a little bit. I think there's a lot of thank you, John. I think there's a lot of iffy guys there strictly because there's not a lot of experience beyond a couple guys.
There's not a tremendous amount of experience, and yeah, you're going to need that. And by the way, I still stand by what I texted you the other day. Crevion LeBlanc is not a football player. That's a Chardonnay. Although he's playing pretty doggone well.
Here's an interesting thing. My suggestion to the Bears would be continue to scrimmage the Patriots or maybe somebody like the Seahawks.
Oh, yeah.
Because LeBlanc is a guy that the Patriots couldn't find room for.
Yeah.
But obviously our coaching staff and our people saw him up close and personal when we scrimmaged the Pats. And they grabbed somebody who's looks like he might be a pretty decent player.
I think so too. He's going to turn out to be a good ball player.
What I'm saying, I would say that in my estimation, Bill Belichick and Pete Carroll, Bill Belichick does the personnel.
He's in charge of
personnel
everything
for the Patriots. I'm pretty sure Pete Carroll has a very strong voice at Seattle. Those two guys are excellent at finding talent. So what my comment actually means is, hey, continue to scrimmage the Patriots and the Seahawks, because sometimes the guys that they can't find room for may be guys that can make our roster and help us.
You can bring them in and take a look at them. Okay. Anything else football-wise?
There was
Anything
one
else on
other
your
thing.
mind?
Yeah, I was going to say Jimmy Sunshine. I was talking to him one day, and this thought about Belichick as part of this. I said, I see three different types of coaches. I see a coach who's really strong personnel-wise. They know the players they want. They know how to evaluate talent well, and they know how to put that all together. I see an X's and O's type of coach, which probably is basically your coordinators, because
Right.
the game is
Right.
always going to be a game of adjustments.
Right.
And then you also have your teaching type of coach. I know that Dave Wannstedt, even though
Lonnie-
he was not a very good head coach,
Lonnie was
one of the best teaching coaches there was.
absolutely. He was out of his element
Right.
in the head coaching job. He was a great defensive coach.
And I think the problem
And
that
he's pretty doggone good analyst when you listen to him on TV.
Oh, I mean,
he's really good.
Jim, I have always said, whatever sport you want to take, all of these guys know their game, but there's a difference between knowing the game and being an effective head coach or manager or whatever the case may be. What that difference is, I don't think anybody has or will ever be able to put their finger on it. Why is a John Wooden, whose style is so much different than a Bobby Knight, but they're both very successful? Why? Why is it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
But that's where I think teams get in trouble. They'll say, I know for a while it was the Patriots. Romeo Crennel and McDaniel, I think, was the other guy, the offensive guy, were hired as head coaches. They didn't pan out as head coaches. Doesn't mean they don't know football. They still know their football. They're still good at what they do. They just didn't have a success as a head coach.
Yeah.
And not that many people do.
You talk about that. There was a hire yesterday on the college level that Lane Kiffin is going to leave Alabama as the offensive coordinator in, University of South Florida? Head coach, University of Central Florida.
Charlie Strong went to South Florida.
So
as
then
the
at
head coach.
Central, he is one of the. Doggone it! Yeah, Charlie Strong went to Central there. Doggone it! Now I can't remember which school he's going to. And I don't see it here, and I can't think of it. I just went blank on it. But here's a guy who basically was in high-profile jobs before. Oakland Raiders head coach. Tennessee, USC. And basically, he probably did not belong there, but has a great football mind. He proved that being the offensive coordinator in Alabama, and here's a chance to get into another program with maybe take some of the lessons that he learned.
Oh, that's a good point. You're making a great point. I mean, if put it this way, if he does not have success where he ends up this time, then you're probably going to say this guy, his peak is being an offensive coordinator.
Yeah,
but
it's
he is a smart football guy, and let's see how he can.
Yeah, it's a Conference USA school.
Okay,
and I'm blanking on the name.
That's probably a smart move for him, though.
Yeah. Just looking, I was just, by the way, just looking at the moves and thinking about looking at some things. You're at the time of year before we get to Black Monday, that first Monday after the end of the football season, when coaches start cleaning out their offices because they've been canned. Mm-hmm. Now you got a couple of instances where you start to test the coordinators and make them the interim coach. I think people were expecting yesterday Rex Ryan to be fired. And somebody asked him about it, I think, over the weekend. And while he didn't, let's say I didn't see the body language, but listening to what he said when saying, "Well, I don't know anything about that," you know damn well that he's expecting it.
Yeah.
And I think
is this his second year at Buffalo?
Yeah, I think so. And there's a lot of disconnect between the players and the coaches. You have new ownership in there, and they're not making any progress. Jeff Fisher got whacked in L.A. yesterday. And
I think that's probably a good move.
it is a good move. It probably surprised Jeff more than anything else. I think a lot of people, when they said he got a 3-year extension, were scratching their heads. But I think this is going to turn out to be more of a golden parachute type settlement to get him out of there, and just help and say thank you for getting us to L.A. and good luck to you.
Honestly, I mean, and Jeff Fisher's one of our former guys, a former Bear, so we love him for that. But my own personal opinion of seeing what his body of work as a head coach is, I know that he did win the Super Bowl, right? The one year was he the Titans head coach when they beat the Rams?
He might have been, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, he did get this, yeah.
but I would say from there.
That's right, he did.
Downhill and then just leveled off at a low level.
5.
And I think maybe Jeff Fisher is the type of coach, and I mean, this is all just BS because I don't really know.
No.
But this is what I'm saying on the outside looking in. I remember when we had who the heck was the guy who was the coach of the Blackhawks? Had been a nice player, and black guy. Can't think of his name.
Cookie Gilchrist's son.
Yeah, but I would read in the paper that the
Doggone it.
the Hawks would play poorly, and he'd say, "Well, we got to get back on the exercise bikes tomorrow." In other words, he didn't have a lot of tools in his coaching box. And my feeling is a little bit the same about Jeff Fisher. I mean, you can only continue to give the same message, and if you're trying to fit every football team that you put together in the same box and try to make them do the same things, I don't think it's going to work. And for him, it's not working. I don't think
it's not. And when you have your best offensive player, say after the game, we're running a middle school offense.
Yeah. Okay. There you go.
And listening to the radio yesterday, and Matt Bowen, who's played a long time in the NFL and is a great football analyst and is high school football coach in this area now, and a great football mind. Asked him. They said, "Well, when you were playing, you played against the Titans a lot in there." And they said, "What was it like to play against the Titans?" And he said, "Every game was the same. Offensively, every game was the same." He said they played hard.
Sure. Yeah.
He said, but you could scheme very easily for them because everything was the same.
Yeah.
And you had to laugh during Hard Knocks this year, and I can't say everything that Fisher said, but he said we're not going 7-9. We're not going 8-8. We're not going 9-7. We're not even going 10-6. Well, he was right on all that. They went 4-9, and he's out.
Yeah, he should be. I think there's no question.
And I think everybody kind of said the same thing. It's time.
Yeah,
it's time. I glanced down here at the transaction list and see what's going on and what's things. I see a couple of familiar names, baseball-wise, as far as some things. Atlanta has named Damon Berryhill manager of one of their minor league teams. We're going back to the ex-Cub factor.
Yeah.
Who else did I see? I saw another name here. Gary Varsho.
Gary Varsho
has been named a professional scout by Pittsburgh.
Oh, very good. That's good.
Ex-Cubs.
Ex-Cubs, and
so he gets
good guys.
He gets to scout the major league level.
Oh, he's going to scout the major league.
Well, I said professional scouts. I assume then you're talking minor league and professional, and the major leagues.
Yeah, probably.
I'm kind of thinking that because
that makes sense.
Because I think I told you last spring when we went up to Michigan State and watched the ball game between Michigan State and Indiana. We were sitting behind the plate and kind of elevated in the upper section, looking down on below, and I'm seeing all these guys with clipboards, sunglasses, all sitting there together, and all of a sudden, as the pitcher winds up, 12 guys raise the radar guns. I go, Well, I said, pointed out to Dana, I said, there's all the scouts come looking at somebody for the draft.
Yeah.
You know, and
Well,
taking their notes.
If you you check the deals section and you were looking at baseball, what was your? Now I would say we could talk Cubs, but I think the Sox again
Sox have been-
made
Sox made
more
the big
news.
splash.
And so, what do you think?
They did what they had to do. Mm-hmm. I mean, they really did what they had to do. I think the issue of their mediocrity over these last however many years
Yeah.
had to stop. Mm-hmm. And you can't keep throwing Band-Aids on something with a deal here, a deal there, and give up what little good talent you might have in your system to get somebody who's really, at best, mediocre. It was interesting, and I did not get a chance yesterday to sit down and go all through this, but I looked at drafts, White Sox drafts, off baseballreference.com over the last, from the 2016 draft back to about 2011. And I can't give you a comparison to anybody else because I didn't have time to didn't go through it. There's very few, 2016 you can throw out because they've just been drafted. But going back, there's very few, if you look at those drafts, that you see numbers in red after their name indicating major league experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have to wonder what kind of scouting evaluation they're doing. There was also an interesting article talking about the number of players over the last maybe 5 years that were on White Sox rosters, that you go and look at their career after that, and the White Sox were the last stop they made.
I think you mentioned that to me.
Yeah. And then you got to start to scratch your head and go, what's wrong with the scouting here? Mm-hmm. What's wrong with our player development? Now, the guys they've got now that they picked up in these deals, I think have tremendous amount of potential. Moncada, you mentioned when we texted back and forth, I think you said he's got a rap for a bad glove. Mm-hmm. And I looked at the numbers. Yeah, they tried to move him to third. The Red Sox moved him to third base.
Yeah,
and he did not do well at third. A limited amount of experience. You really can't tell.
Now, would you? Interestingly enough, the Sox signed Brett Laurie to I think a 1-year deal, so he's coming back. And where I'm going to connect this is the likelihood. They say the Dodgers are interested in Todd Frazier.
I've heard that
they haven't been able to sign Turner.
But I thought I saw something that they're getting close to that deal now.
To which deal?
I think to Turner.
So the Dodgers may re-sign
They
Turner?
may re-sign Turner. I'm not sure. I thought I saw an item about that.
Okay. Because I was going to say, if that is actually what's going to happen, if they would say trade, if there was a logical deal in trading Frazier to the Dodgers, then would you say Laurie plugs in at second or third, and then you let Moncada come up to the majors right away and learn on the job, and plug him in at one of those two spots?
That's a thought. I want to just see if I was correct on what my news item on the Dodgers. Dodgers close to. I saw this. Yeah, Dodgers close to a deal with free agent third baseman Justin Turner.
Okay,
and that was posted like yesterday.
Okay. Now, here's the other thing, Jim. Do you think that the Sox, even though it looks like they're going in a positive direction, let's just say, do you think that they will be able to maintain having the patience to let the prospects they've got sit down on the farm for a while till they're actually ready to come up? Or, as we've seen, I mean, they brought up Fulmer after they had drafted him. Who was there's somebody else that they had brought. The guy
Anderson.
Who?
Anderson.
No. now Anderson had been playing in the minors for a while. The other lefty pitcher that is in the rotation.
Carlos Rodon.
Rodon came up almost. Well, pretty much immediately.
He's drafted. He went to the minor leagues and he was up.
And I think those things are mistakes, but the Sox have done that, and I don't know. To me, it doesn't look, at least in the case of Rodon, Rodon is progressing because he's been there a while now.
He's just learning on the
but
job.
I'm not sure that running him right into the majors was a good idea, and the same with Fulmer. I mean, you go from being a dominant player at your level, college level. Hey, now you're in the pros. Look what happened just recently here with the Hawks with Nick Schmaltz.
Yeah.
Are you really ready coming out of college?
Yeah.
And my thing is, my sort of read on I don't know about Rick Hahn, because I think Hahn is still sort of the puppet of Williams and Reinsdorf, but I think Kenny Williams basically is the puppet master, and I don't see him as the patient guy.
I think so too, and that's the one thing that concerns me, and it's going to be interesting to watch the progression of these guys, all these guys that they got in the minors, and see if they show any signs of real progress and any positive signs if Williams is going to start pushing to bring them up. You go from through a couple of deals, you go from having probably the 29th or 30th ranked farm system to suddenly you've got 6 guys in the top 50 that are part of your farm system. And Williams is not going to be one that's going to sit back and say, "Let this happen," and let's do the rebuild. He's not going to sit there and let him do a Cub rebuild. I'm afraid of that.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I'm afraid of that because they're going to look at it, and the fan base with the White Sox, fickle as they are, they're not going to come out until you say, "Show me you got something."
Although I at least media, wise, it seems that Sox fans are excited that the Sox have finally made this move.
They're finally got a direction that they're going.
Although I have to say this. You got rid of Sale, and not that you got rid of him. You traded Sale, you traded Eaton, but Cabrera's still there, Garcia's still there, Frazier's still there, Abreu's still there, Robertson's still there.
Robertson may go.
Well, I think
Robertson may go.
Frazier and Robertson make sense. If I was a Sox fan, and people would probably crucify. No, I put it this way: maybe as a Sox fan, I wouldn't say this. But as a baseball fan, I'd say trade Abreu. Seriously. I think you can get something for him. And honestly, his numbers are good. But if you look at his numbers last year, I think he ended up still 30 homers, 100 RBIs.
Somewhere around there. But
I listened to a lot of those games. His impact was negligible.
Right. That was. It would be interesting to look at what his WAR was last year. Since I know how much you enjoy those.
The WAR. Yeah, we liked WARs.
And his BABIP. And
yeah.
No.
That as long as his BABIP was good, we're in good shape. But at any rate, as long as those guys are around, it's almost like, to me, Kenny Williams is going to hold on for dear life. We got to keep some of those guys. But what do you think? The Sox are made up of a team. They're a team made up of good currency, guys who could maybe fit well on other teams' rosters as complementary or even a little bit better than complementary players, but don't seem to be able to carry the ball for the Sox.
Right. By the way, you mentioned Eaton. I did see a news item yesterday that he managed to save his throwback uniform before Sale could get a hold of it and cut it up that day.
Oh, okay.
He said, and the next time, well, I think they were talking. The article was phrased as, I think it was they must have talked to him before the trade to the Nationals, because he said, when the Red Sox come in, I want Chris to autograph it because I'm going to put it up in my man cave.
Well, let me ask you this, Jim. prior to if you read anything as because this whole sale trade has been cooking for
Since last summer.
4 or 5 months or whatever.
Since last summer.
And everything I heard was the Sox were going to hold out for 5 major prospects. Well, when I read that, the first thing I thought is, well, nobody's going to give you that.
Nobody's going to give you that. No.
But would you say, based on what the Sox got from the Red Sox, and be objective about it, not trying to look at it from a Sox fan, just look at it from a baseball point of view, do you think that they really got underpaid for it?
That they got underpaid?
Yeah.
They got 3 prospects. You look at it from the number standpoint. You got 3 solid prospects. You have $38 million in salary off your books going to Boston. And you have Boston picking up the remaining balance on Moncada's contract, which is over $31 million.
Well, can you give me a why on that?
I think that's in lieu of Jackie Bradley Jr. and another prospect. Well, we're not going to give you that, but how about if we pick up his the rest of his deal?
Okay.
Which I think when I heard that, I thought,
That's a good point.
That's a
good point.
When I heard that, I thought, oh my God, that's a brilliant point.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
That's a brilliant point.
Okay, so
I think it had to be in lieu of a prospect, another prospect or a player. Who was the other one they were talking about? Benedetti?
Benintendi.
Benintendi.
Yeah.
That name was probably brought up.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it because he's probably, if not their top, then their second biggest prospect.
Sure. And Jackie Bradley, I'm sure all those names were discussed.
Yeah.
But we said, no, we're not doing that. Well, okay, how about, sweeten it up financially?
Yeah, that makes sense. That's good. So I did read an article, a USA Today article, where they say this year's reagent crop, mediocre, but 2017 is going to be a blockbuster.
Yeah.
And
I think I've read that too.
with the money that the Sox have saved, let's say, they might be in the market for a real huge free agent acquisition.
You might be getting yourself in a good position for next year.
Yeah,
absolutely. I'm amazed at how much closers have gotten this year.
I'll tell you, relief pitchers. It's a good day. Good day to be a reliever.
Wow. Jansen, $80 million for 5 years to stay in L.A. Chapman, $86 million for 5 years to go to the Yankees. Melanson, what did he get? He got about $62 million.
Yeah.
So I think that the deal that the Cubs pulled to getting Wade Davis at $8 million.
Yeah. No, I mean they're being fiscally responsible and still getting a good
getting
closer.
A really good quality closer.
Yeah.
And you've kind of said already, well, okay, we're here for a 1-year deal. That's a nice win-win for that.
Yeah.
He said, and we've got Carl Edwards Jr. that we may look at as our closer in waiting for
sometime down the line
for maybe 2018.
Yeah. No, I think that's part of the whole thinking. You're right about that. George Bliss, who's a friend of mine on Facebook, wrote last week. I believe he said, based on, and I'm talking about Aroldis Chapman now, based on his track record, his deal would come out to about $300,000 an inning. So, can you believe that? So
that's like Derrick Rose money, as John's sitting in the other
Derrick
room
Rose.
scowling.
Hey, by the way, I see that the Knicks are not doing that badly, and Derrick Rose is playing pretty well.
Sure, it's contract year.
It's contract year, is right. He's got to stay healthy. Although I did see he did sit out a game with I don't know. I think he had a hangnail or something.
Oh, okay. Well, it's contract year. You got to stay.
Yeah,
you got to play.
Hey.
You got to play. You got it there. They're, let's just see, looking at their Knicks, if the playoffs started tomorrow, the Knicks would be the 3rd seed.
Yeah, so the Knicks are, who's really helped that team is and I don't know where he's from, but Porzingis. Huge talent.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Croatian,
Carmelo Anthony
Latvian.
has matured, and I think his game has, he's mellow Carmelo. I think his game is
He's
mellowed,
finally-
and
He's finally got it.
age has done good things for Carmelo, I think.
Yeah.
So
And we have the schizophrenic Bulls that you never know what night what team is going to show up.
I think the Bulls are the thing the Bulls don't have, and I think with McDermott back it'll help. Their bench has not been carrying their weight. I think the pickups of Wade and Rondo have been good ones and have
excellent.
helped the team.
Yeah, excellent.
But yeah, I think their problem has probably more been their bench than anything.
I think that's really the case. It's been an up and down team. It'll be interesting tonight. Now tonight's Tuesday when we're recording this, so Minnesota's here tonight. That ought to
That'll be good.
That'll be an interesting game because they have not exactly responded well to Tibbs. What did I see? I got to look. Minnesota is 6-10.
6-10. That's early.
Yeah. So Tibbs.
Plus, Tibbs is put it this way: it's Tibbs. If you read a little bit about him and you read a little bit, especially about his defense, it'll make your head spin. And I think it's a time. It might take time for these guys to absorb this, but I think they'll be fine.
I think they will too. And I can't think of anything else to talk about today. And John's sitting in the other room scowling.
I don't know. John is. John's not been in a Merry Christmas mood. I don't know what's going on.
John's Yule log needs lighting.
John, do you have anything to say? Uh-oh. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I can't wait to hear what he has to say when we get off mic.
Man, this is going to be something when we get off of here. I don't know. I'm almost afraid. I'm almost afraid of what it is.
I don't know. Never be afraid, Jim.
Okay.
Don't be afraid.
I was just looking at the time. I couldn't remember. I got a doctor's appointment. I couldn't remember if it was 1:30 or 1 o'clock. It's 1 o'clock. So.
Oh, okay.
So I think we're going to wrap it up, and that's going to wrap it up for us for 2016. We wish everyone a Merry Christmas, the happiest of New Year's. We'll come back after the first of the year, and we will have football to discuss and coaches fired and wondering what's going on. I mean, we didn't even get into the Bill Polian rumors about the Bears today. And I had to laugh because when I saw the article over the weekend in Steve Rosenblum's blog on the Tribune, he says, he said a Bear rumor is much more interesting than watching the Bears.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, that's going to wrap it up for us. As I said, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to everyone. We will see you all around sometime early in January again, and we'll do this nonsense all over again. Until that time, we are Taillights. Or shall I say?
You have been listening to Armchair Experts from the John DeVito Broadcast Center on Wednesday, December the 14th on Jack FM 89.7, WRHS FM Norwich, and the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network with Jim Leon and Rich Massaro. This broadcast was directed by John DeVito, and our special thanks to radio station manager Kevin Zeflik of WRHS FM Norwich and the executive producer of Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network, Mr. John Shikanda. This broadcast was pre-recorded on Tuesday, December the 13th, the year 2016. Until next time, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all our listeners. And this is Jack Frost FM 89.7 WRHS FM, Norwich, Illinois.